I honestly don't know what you need, right? No one does, right? But the thing is, honing is largely like a trial and error type of thing. Not everybody's looking for the same results. Not everybody's capable of the same results. Not every razor is capable of the same results. Not every stone is capable of the same results. You work with what you have. You do the best you can with what you have. And you deal with it. That's it, Let me put that. I'm putting the, if you can see, I got the Botan in a little water. Get a little water on the stone. So what happens is people go online, they ask questions, they send an email, whatever. A lot of times, people ask for suggestions, they're looking for directions. They don't really want an answer. They either want whatever they thought was the answer, they want that confirmed. We call that confirmation bias. So they're like, they're coming into the conversation, they're like, I don't want to have to buy that, so I need to find people to tell me I don't need it. And then they come to me. And if it happens to be something where you actually do need something, what they wind up is like I'm in an argument. Honing is really simple. There's not a lot here. It's a razor, right? That's it. That's all this is. It's a razor, right? It's not going to save the free world from communism. It's not going to win the war for the Allies. It's just a razor. The purpose is to shave hair off the face. That's it. The minute people start making more out of it than that, that's when the problems start. Life on the internet becomes complicated because people don't always really want to know what you think. They just want you to tell them what they want to hear. And I'm just not part of that, If you want to hone a razor, the bevel's got to be set. There's no getting around it. You can't think it's set, you can't hope it's set, you can't wish it to be set, it has to be set. If it's not set, it's not going to shave as well as it can. Period. How many times do we see posts? Oh, my razor doesn't seem sharp, I don't know what's wrong. Start talking about the bevel, they want to talk about finishing stones. Where the answer lies is actually unknown, because you don't really know unless you have the blade in your hands, but I'm going to say that 90% of the time, maybe more. The problem is that the early work wasn't done right. Then one day the light bulb comes on. Nobody ever comes back and says, hey, you were right. So here I am with Botan. Do I need Botan? Well, Keith needs Botan because he hones with Nagura. Why do I hone with Nagura? Well, because they make sense. A lot of people say things like, oh, you don't need Nagura. Well, I need Nagura. I don't know what you need, okay? I don't know what somebody else needs, right? Nagura worked for me, right? Some people say, oh, you can just make heavy tomo slurry. Well, yeah, you can, but it's a different thing, and it doesn't really, like tomo slurry, if your tomo is from finishing stone, it's never going to be as coarse as this. And forget coarseness in and of itself. I mean, that's important. But the type of particle, the shape of the particle, the density of the particles, the ability of those particles to cut, and how they cut, and how they prep the stage for the next, Nagura, that's what matters. It's not, to me, it's not, just getting an edge and moving on, okay? I'm invested in honing with these things. So, like Iwasaki talked about, using the Nagura, makes perfect sense to me. The guy didn't bring Nagura up simply because he felt like it. And you got guys online that want to reinvent the wheel. They hone 10 razors and they think they know more than Iwasaki. Or a polisher. Or for that matter, me. Been doing this for over a decade. Too many stones in Nagura to count. If I say I do something a particular way, trust me. I've tried a lot of ways. I've chosen this way for a reason. You don't have to like it. If someone doesn't like this way, I'm cool with that. What gets to me is when people want to argue about it. Like what is the point in that? So this razor went to 1K on a Kyocera. Had a good bevel set. So technically, this is not a bevel set. What this is an enhancement to my bevel set. All right, so I like to have as much of a natural hone as possible. When I say a natural hone, I mean the honing work. This is a very natural stone. So there's that. So what I'm using the Botan here for basically is to wipe out the fingerprint left by the 1K Kyocera. So the 1K Kyocera left a geometry that's, you know, perfect for my needs. But the striations and apex condition, you know, they're fine. I can like work with it, but I want something, you know, like more. It's like cooking, you know. Some people, when they put salt on their food, they use fleur de sel. Other people use Morton. I have both. So my approach to honing is sometimes the same way it is with like food. Sometimes I just want a little something else. And I'll be honest, I perceive this approach to be better than just going forward on the 1K Kyocera. And someone's going to say, well, I tried it and it's not the same, or it's not better, or it's... I don't care about failed attempts to recreate what I'm doing. Absence of proof is not proof of absence. I'm not making this shit up. I'm telling you that using Botan after a 1K alters the condition of my edge. Believe me. If you don't feel it, I can't help you. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to like it. So what I'm doing here is wiping out all those striations left by the synthetic. Now those striations, basically, let me get it posted out. The synthetic particles are very pointy, so when they cut into the steel, they leave a striation that comes to a termination. So this is the bevel right here, right? That's the bevel surface, and this is the scratch mark. This is the bottom, it's pointy, right? These edges are very sharp. When this terminates at the apex, remember that there's perspective here, right? So this line here, that's actually inside the razor, okay? All right. When these lines intersect at the apex, all of these deep V things, you wind up with a particular type of apex condition. When you're working with a Jnat, your particles, and even with these, now remember, these are like volcanic, they're not sedimentary, they're not shale, they're not like our Acedo from Tome, all right? It's a completely different thing. But the particles are like, they're shaped like cornflakes. It's like a wafer. I wish I had a cornflake here to show you. That's a terrible looking cornflake. Anyway, so what's happening is the cornflake is scooping, all right? It's not gouging, digging, all right? And by creating that scooping, right, you're creating a softer surface condition. The exact how of that sort of geometry creating an effect, like exactly what goes on there, I have a bunch of theories and I can't ever prove any of it. There have been people with scanning electron microscopes trying to prove that the stuff doesn't operate the way it does. And their attempts always fail because they're always involved in confirmation bias. I think most of the time most people don't even know what they're looking at. And you don't have to. You don't need a microscope. All you got to do is hone with it. Right? Learn this system and work with it, and eventually all of a sudden one day the light comes on. It's like, holy shit, this edge is amazing. And you can try and try and try and try and try and get that same sort of thing with a synthetic. And I have, and it's never happened. I get a good edge, I get a workable edge, I get a shaving edge, I get smoothness, I get sharpness, I get all of that stuff. But it's not the same as this. So when I'm working with Nagura, one of the things that is important, well, a couple of things. First thing is quality-based stone. This is what I affectionately call the world's best Jnat. It's very, 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 like, it's super hard. I can do anything on this stone. I need a quality Nagura, not just some crap from eBay that's cheap. That some guy like manufactured it in his kitchen. And yeah, that happens. I've seen Nagura with blue stamps, upside down stamps, incorrect characters, bad borders on the stamp, just everything whacked. People buy this stuff and I don't know what happens when they start using it, to be honest, but I guess if you don't have a point of reference, then it might not matter so much. But to me, quality in the Nagura is tantamount to everything. All right, so you have quality parts there. Need a good razor, right? Need good geometry. The other thing is like how much slurry, right? There have been wizards on the internet. You don't need a lot of slurry. You need enough slurry to allow the process to hit the edge evenly from toe to heel. And that actually is going to take more than a little bit of slurry. What I think a lot of people mean when they say that, and I'm giving a big benefit of the doubt here, but I think what a lot of people mean is you don't need really dense slurry. And that's kind of true with anything most of the time. If you need to move a lot of material out, you might want more dense slurry, but at some point you got to back off because all you're doing is rounding over the apex. What you don't want with Jnat slurry of any type is where it gets thick. You want it to come off the razor just like that. Here, let me show you again. Right? Now, what's happened here is I've worked this and it's not where I want. And you notice I'm working the ends of the stone. It's because I hone a lot towards the center, especially when I'm on camera. Inevitably, the center is where most of the pressure comes up. The pressure I'm using here is not like significant, but it's more than I would use for finishing. All right, that little blast of slurry actually just broke through the wall. So I'm gauging this right on feedback. And I can't teach that to you. It's here. You got to learn. How do you learn? You do. All right? You hone a lot. The things I see online that drives me nuts, and there's a lot of things online that drive me nuts. But one of the things is this tendency for people to want to like figure it out by reading stuff before they go do it. And I gotta tell you, that's really not how it goes down. Yeah, this is actually right where I want it. So, you know, Botan for me is critical. I have a bunch of Botan. I don't have just a Botan. And I'd like to say, oh, well, I'll use this one for Sheffields and that one's for Soligens. And I've heard a lot of people allude to this type of decision making. And a sword polisher will probably choose, you know, their Nagura Toishi for their polishing, incorporating those things. And I don't get that granular with it. I kind of have like a gut feeling sort of mood type of thing. Some are harder, some are softer. A lot depends on the base stone. A lot depends on what it is I want to do. You know, I have, here's one over here, right? So I have this guy. Right? This is part of a set that's going on Etsy. I'm going to home with that because I like to know that the stuff I'm putting out there is, you know, quality and good. I mean, I know it is because I've held it and I can pretty much tell quality by touching the stuff at this point. It doesn't mean there's no reason for me to look into it further. People expect better and I give it to them. I could just take the stuff and box it and then sell it, but it's not my style. That's why when I run out of stuff, sometimes there are days before another item takes its place because I got to check it out. Luckily, I hone a lot, so I get to test a lot. So you can see now that the slurry is pretty thin. All right. The feel on the stone is amazing. Okay. All of the distraction from the striations from the 1K, they're essentially wiped, all right? I can probably go one more session just to like ice the cake, and I may do that. I may actually test that other Botan doing that because there would be no harm. And I would get to test the stone, and I would be 100% sure that I've completely brought the edge down to natural level, right? So I've taken a synthetic edge, and I have effectively naturalized it into, well, you know, a natural stone edge, which is, you know, part of the deal for me. So anyway, do you need Botan? I don't know. Those are things. Those kind of decisions you got to make. You know, you got to make up for yourself. You can't let people tell you what you need and what you don't need. Right? If you want to do something, figure out what you want to do. Then ask people who are doing it how they do it. Then it might be a good idea to do it the way they do, especially if they can prove to you that they've had successes. I've been doing this for a really long time. All right. I shave very well. I think anybody honing the way I do would be well served with this method, but if someone doesn't want to do it this way, that's whatever, you know, no skin off my nose. Anyway, listen, that's the thing about do I need Botan? You get to figure that out. Keith needs Botan, so here it is. Anyway, get your stones out, make some edges, have some great shaves, keep it fun, keep it light, keep it simple, avoid the drama, you know, and have some fun. This is all about having fun. Okay, until next time, take care. Talk to you soon.